Esme, she's a queen. This is dedicated to all my beautiful queens, all my beautiful ladies out there. She's a queen. Go queen. You got it, girl. She's a queen. You better represent. Go queen. Go queen. Go. She's a queen about her business. Queen. Working hard on a mission. Yeah. Head high, purpose driven. Purpose driven. Represent, you're a queen, you're a queen, oh.
So thank you guys for joining the Q Chat. Today's special guest is Mr. Terrance Bonner, and he is a spa owner and an esthetician. I always mispronounce that word, and a spa therapist. So I just want to talk to him about, and we talk about self-love a lot, but also self-care is super important. So I just want to talk to him about his business, how he got started, what inspires him, and also the importance of self-care. So how are you doing today?
I'm good, and thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you about these very important topics.
Yes, thank you. And we're neighbors, as we established before we started recording. So you're right next door in Mississippi. So we got our southern roots. So I'm happy to meet you as well. So I definitely wanted to talk to you. I love how you have your business. It's called the Glam Station Spa.
Yes.
Okay, so what sparked your interest in wanting to go into this industry?
Well, me being a guy, of course, this is probably not the norm for most people, but it is becoming more norm, especially for guys now. But, you know, I've always been the type to like to help people. And I was introduced to massage in high school. And, you know, it was a funny thing because initially it was like, oh, it was the second highest paid on the list. And I said, I may want to do this. But, you know, as time went on, you know, I really wanted to do it. And it's funny because a lot of times we don't listen to the calling that's for us and we run from it. But this one I was actually trying to go towards. And, you know, it took me 3 tries to finally get, you know, into the industry, but you know, 3 tries, 6 years later, I've made it to the industry. And you know, I've always worked in like the spa setting. So, you know, I've always had people around me that maybe did facials, you know, hair, nails, and you know, becoming in the industry, I only did massage. And I was like, I really want to, you know, add aesthetics because I would have a client that would come in and do double services. So they maybe come in to get a massage first, and then next they will go in and get a facial. But they will always ask me, they was like, well, are you going to do my facial too? And I was like, well, no, you know, that'll be, you know, so-and-so will do your facial. So I thought it would be great if I went back to school and got my aesthetic license. And now I can offer, you know, multiple services to clients, basically have a place where clients can go and get, you know, one service. And so in my mind, I said, well, you know, I want my own business and that would be great if I could offer this to my clients. And so that's what I did. After 3 years just being a massage therapist, I went back to school to become an esthetician. So now I'm a massage therapist and esthetician, and now instructor. But yeah, so that's kind of how I got started in it. And I've always wanted my own place, but I wanted to go and work for others. As I, you know, tell my students now, it's always best to go work for somebody else because you learn the ins and outs of the business. You're straight out of school. You want to make sure you have a clientele because that's what's going to keep you going. If you come straight out of school, you have no clientele. Even if you have money built up, you're going to go through that money so fast because you're trying to pay bills, you're trying to buy products, but you don't have the clients coming in like they need to. So, you know, that's what I did. I went and worked for others, you know, saw how things, you know, ran. I was building the clientele at the same time. But, you know, I was looking at, how's the business run? You know, how they run the business, how, you know, is it structured? You know, the concept of things. And being honest, I said, well, you know, I see some things I like. I see some things I don't like. So, you know, I kind of took what I like and, you know, kind of turned into my own. And in 4 years, I was kind of pushed to open my own business. My goal was 5 years, but I was really, you know, pushed to open my own business. When I say push, I mean nobody would hire me. Nobody would hire me. Once I got my aesthetics license, I was a male, and it was taboo. It was hey, I have my massage license, my aesthetics license, and it was like, yeah, okay, we'll get back with you, or no, automatically. So it was just this door closed, that door closed, this door closed. So I had to make my own lane. And so that's what I did. And so here I am today.
And you is leading to my next question, because that's what I wanted to ask you, as a male, what challenges, did you face? Because I mean, I'm assuming this is a field dominated by women. So, and I don't know if it's maybe a little extra sprinkle on it as a minority male, but what challenges did you face? Which I know you touched on some of them. So how did you overcome them? Because I know you touched on a bit of them. So what true challenges did you face, and how did you overcome them and become successful?
So, like I stated before, the first challenge I ran into was applying to different businesses in different areas. This was not just one area, but applying to different places of employment and not being hired. So that was the first thing. So it was heartbreaking. It was discouraging because, you go to school, whether it's a trade school, 4-year, 2-year college, you want to get out and you want to work in the field that you went to school for. And not being able to work in the field, because in my mind, I still wanted my own place, but I was like, I really want to still go somewhere, because I worked for someone doing massage, but I never worked for anybody doing aesthetics. And so I still want to go do the same thing, get my feet wet, see how things are done, in the aesthetics part, but I didn't get a chance to do that. And those were some of the challenges. Some of the challenges were having clients, they may not have been comfortable with a male esthetician. That's whether doing a facial, doing Brazilian waxes, massages. I've ran into that doing massages. And, how I overcame that was my core values, being determined that I'm going to succeed in this industry. It is a female-based industry, which is totally fine. But, I was like, I have to make my mark. I have to make my own lane, and that's what I did. So I won't say I cried, but I kind of took the hit, but I kept running. And so I kept running, and I kept put my head down, and I just worked. I advertised and marketed, and I did things outside the box. I did things outside the box to be noticed, to be seen, to be like, hey, he's doing something different over here. I want to go see what he's doing. And, basically continue to build my clientele to where I am today. So I can honestly say I am a household name in my area. And, now can say, outside of my area, I am a household name. And, I wouldn't have been able to do that if I would have turned around and did something else when those doors closed in my face and said, no, we're not going to hire you, or listening to some family members and say, hey, it's not going great, just go get a regular job, but I had that vision of this is what I want to do. I'm not going to let anyone, from friends, family, employers that didn't hire me to, come into their place of employment to work. I'm not going to let that those no's stop me. And so again, I just had to keep going on my lane, and that's what I did. Like I said, I thought outside the box. I did things that I'm already doing things that's not the norm, because again, I'm a guy in this female-dominated industry. So I just, like I said, I did the work. At the end of the day, I did the work. I'm still doing the work, because a lot of people think that, oh, I can just go get my license or certificate, and I can just do whatever, but you have to put in the work. I'm 11 years in now, and it's just amazing the journey that I've been on, being able to travel around the world, different countries, and Thailand to train and travel and explore. So it's been an amazing journey.
Wow. So I saw that you won the Best Esthetician for 2015, 2016, and 2018. Best Spa of Mississippi in 2019. And I know you mentioned like you've been all over the world. What have been some of the just the best highlights in this journey that you've had? And I commend you just for the fact that you didn't let any naysayers bring you down, because I think that's one of the unfortunate things in entrepreneurship, or just people following a dream in general. You'll have that circle of people that'll point out all those worst case scenarios, and sometimes it comes from the people who you thought would be like your cheerleaders. They do the exact opposite. So I definitely commend you for having that fighting spirit. But like I said, just these great accolades that you've received, what have been some of the greatest highs that you would just, if you can name just some of the top memorable moments in this journey of yours?
So the first memorable one, I would say in 2015, I won among the best massage therapists awards in my city. So that was the first time I was like, what? I'm just like,
and what part of Mississippi are you from? And what part of Mississippi are you from?
Columbus.
Okay, Columbus.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, what is this? I didn't know anything about it. So it just came and I was like, hey, you won this. And I was like, oh my God. Like I won. So that was the first thing, like, wow, I see I'm reaping the benefits of, the seed that I've been sowing. And so that was the very first one. The next one I would say is in 2016 when I went to Thailand for the first time. And when I went, it was nothing short of amazing because I almost didn't go. I met the lady that I went with in February of 2016. She was leaving October of 2016. And the price was $5,000. So I was like, I got a few months, because of course I had to pay for it maybe 2 months prior to us leaving, so I didn't have that much on. So I was like, okay, how am I going to get this money to go? And but I'm also an educator, so I went to her and I said, I really want to learn this particular style of reflexology, Thai foot reflexology, because I would love to go back to Mississippi and teach this to the Mississippi therapy, because we're just kind of limited on the continuing education that we have. And so I wanted to bring diversity. I want to bring something different. And, traveling around and just learning different things that's not being offered. And she said, well, you can learn it from me, or you can go learn it from the ones who created it. And she was like, you can go to Thailand with me. And, we began to talk, and she was like, yeah, it's $5,000. And I was like, oh, wow. And initially I was like, yeah, I ain't gonna be able to do that. But I put my head down. I went back and I was like, I really want to do this. I really want, and being honest, she said, you can really market it and say you went to Thailand and learned this and you came, and come back and teach it. And so that's what I did. I scraped up the money. I saved, I changed habits that I had. I saved up the money and I went. And so that was definitely an experience. It was almost like a one in a lifetime experience. But fortunately, I did have the opportunity to go again in 2018. So I went again in 2018. And when I went in 2018, I really didn't want to come back. It was it was a really great experience both times. And those were, some of the highlights. And then in 2019, when we won Best Spa of Mississippi, that blew my mind. That blew my mind. I'm just like, wow, I had never, over the years, I had been seeing different people, when the winners would be announced, that's the only time I would see it. So I would see some local people, the rest of the people in Mississippi win. I'm just like, wow, they win, among the best every year. And I'm just like, how do you even enter this? And it was crazy. It was 2018, I think in the summer, maybe like June, July. And I put in my phone, I went to the website and it said that they start voting in March 1st, 2019. And I put in my phone in June to remind me in March to begin to vote, to put it out there and say, hey, vote for us. And that's what I did. And not knowing that we were going to win number one. And the rep that I was talking to, she said it was crazy because it was like, we've never heard of you, this is your first time. And I was speechless. I told my team at the time, I said, y'all, I really feel good about this. I said, if we win, I said, I'm going to take y'all wherever y'all want to go. Wherever you want to go, I'm going to take you. And at the time, that was like, we wouldn't go to Cheesecake Factory. Some people had been, some people hadn't. It was in Birmingham, about an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes away from us, and they said that's where they want to go. I said, well, if we win, I'm taking everybody to Cheesecake Factory. And when we won, I said, well, I hope y'all ready to go to Cheesecake Factory because I'm going to take y'all. And we won. So those were some of the highlights of my career. And again, starting back in 2010, going to massage school, I would have never imagined being able to go and see the things that people to touch, my clients, other colleagues of mine, reaching back out, educating. I had no idea I would be where I am today. And just going forward, I try to pour back into of my other colleagues, students, now me teaching in a school setting. So those are definitely my highlights.
Wow. You have such good energy, like I can just feel it, like just the happiness you have. And that's, like they said, it's a blessing when a person can find that purpose. And when you're doing something you love, it's not work, because you're doing something that's your passion. And I can feel it just seeing you, talking to you, like I can feel it. So I think that's an amazing thing. So I wanted to talk to you further, and you mentioned your core values in one of your previous answers, but I want to get deeper with it because I know you also have a workbook, which I want to talk about that too. And one thing that I picked up just in your research and just, you mentioned your team, is obviously not only pursuing your business, but you're also giving it back to people. You being an instructor, having employees, it's giving back. So I want to talk to you deeper about those core values. Determination plus core values equals success. So can you just break this down? Because, like I said, just a lot of things that you mentioned, I feel that manifestation, just claiming things too. Like you heard the 5,000 at first, like, wait a minute, but you still claimed it. You manifested it. You were able to do it. You manifested that you were going to win that award, and just accomplishing your dream. So let's talk further about this whole determination plus core values equals success. I definitely want to hear your breakdown of this.
Yeah, so it was crazy. When it was crazy. My publisher would tell you I stalked her. But when I became a massage therapist, there were names that were known in the industry. And my publisher was one of those names. So I had been following her for 10 years. And she didn't know who I was, I had never met her, but I had just been following her. So when she, said that she was a publisher, that's what she did, I just felt drawn to her. And the conversations that we had initially, everything that's in my book, it came from my mind, but it was just like she had to almost like, okay, what you're doing, you have to just write it down. You have to write it down. So it was so crazy. I cried. I literally cried because she pulled out some things that we're known in our culture to bury. We're known to have things that happen in our life and we bury it. And, we try to forget about it. And so I cried several times coming up with it. But what I found out going back to, it took me 3 tries and 6 years to go to massage school. So that was determination. But even before that, which I talk about in the book, at 4 and 5 years old, yes, 4 and 5, I remember 4 and 5 years old, 4 years having faith when me and my mom almost died, I was being hit by a train. when I say we were this close by hit, if she would have not turned the wheel when she did, we would be probably dead, and I wouldn't be here speaking to you today.
Wow.
So at 4 years old, I found faith. Faith that my life was predestined for greatness, for where I am now, and where I'm going. And that was at 4 years old. At 5 years old, I was determined again. It's crazy because people would say things to me about my 5-year-old self, and I would just laugh because I was like, okay, yeah, you read the book. But at 5 years old, I ran away from my new babysitter back to my old babysitter. I was taken from her because I was 5 years old. I didn't understand. She was getting older. She was getting older, and she couldn't handle my more activeness self. And so my parents had to move me from her to a new babysitter. I loved her chicken and dumplings. I loved my room that I had, my bed that I had. I just knew her house, everything. But I was taken away from that, but not knowing at 5 years old why. I just knew I was not going back to Miss Rosie anymore. And I was placed in a new place. I hated it. She couldn't cook, all this stuff.
Hi, it's your girl, Danny Parks. Listen, if you are having any type of suicidal thoughts, if you're having any type of mental health crisis, I want you to dial the new suicide hotline, 988. That's right. It's only 3 numbers, and it's 988. You can call this or text it to be connected to a crisis counselor where they can help you through your situation in that moment. Once again, that number is 988, and that's it. All right, I'll see y'all later.
A new place. I hated it. She couldn't cook, all this stuff. And one day I said, you know what? I'm going back. I'm going back. And I made my escape route. I left out the door. She went to sleep. She laid me down for a nap, but I wasn't asleep, but she laid down for a nap. When she laid down for her nap, I went out the door. I walked. It's funny. I walked and I made my path. And it's funny, when I wrote the book, my dad and my sister went with me, and we actually walked from that place where it was back to where the babysitter that I ran away to or back to. We walked, and I think it was about 3 miles. So I wasn't thinking about being hit by a car. I wasn't thinking about being kidnapped, killed, any of that. The only thing I was thinking about was I wanted to get back to Miss Rosie. And that's what I did. At 5 years old, when my mom finally found me, because I was missing. They didn't know where I was. She didn't. When I got to the door, knocked on the door, she was thinking that, oh, she was searching, because my mom, that's what happened. My mom was always in a rush, trying to get me where I had to be and her get to work. That's she was like, oh, well, maybe she just was such in a hurry that she forgot that I no longer, came here. And so she thought she just dropped me off and she went to work. So she just brought me in the house. She made my my chicken and dumplings. I cut on my cartoons, and I was just at home. So not knowing that it was a search party out for me, trying to find me. And I think it was a bus driver at the time. He had told my mom, he said, yeah, I saw a little boy walking with a book bag or whatever. And when my mama finally came, and of course everybody asked me, did she whoop me? No, she did not whoop me. She was just so, glad to find me. And the first thing I told her, she's like, why did you, you could have. And what I told her was, well, I look both ways before I cross the street. So those were my pillars of life growing up and not knowing it. And I talk about that in the book, how so many people don't know that they have core values, but they grew up with them or they developed them at a younger age, but not knowing about them and really connecting with them as an adult. And the workbook came about during COVID. I wrote the book during COVID. When COVID happened, I'm a very hands-on person when it comes to my business. And I felt so helpless during COVID because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't say, well, okay, I'll just go in and do. I couldn't do anything. Everybody was shut down, of course. But I began to see so many businesses close down because, you know, their business wasn't set up right. You know, they, you know, said there was a business, but, you know, they wasn't paying themselves like they should. So they may have been paying themselves, but not on paper. So they couldn't get, you know, any type of assistance or anything. So I kept seeing that. And I was just like, man, this business holds, this business has been here forever. This is this. So I was just like, I want to create something so I can help others going forward, or even for the ones that are in business, set up their business correctly. That way, if this happens again, you have the right documents that you need. You have the right paperwork that you need, so that you can get some assistance, so you would not have to close down. And so that's what I began to do. But I started with my core values, because even for me, if it wasn't for my core values, I wouldn't have made it. Those were that was my foundation that held me, because again, I went into a state of depression because I couldn't do anything. But you know, I just had to keep thinking about faith. I had to keep thinking about determination, you know, my willpower of just like, this is what I want to do. This is my business. I'm going to fight for my business. And so, you know, it really, you know, grounded me to keep going, to keep fighting, and going forward with my business. So that's how the core values came about. And then, you know, with the workbook, you know, some people don't like it, but it makes you think. So it's not a book that you'll get and that you'll just, you're going to just read through. No, if you want your business to succeed, if you want your business to excel to the next level, then, you know, you're going to have to put in the work. You're going to have to put in the work so that, you know, you won't run into that issue of you not having the paperwork that you need, whether that is assistance with, you know, PPP or a small business loan, whether there's business credit. I talk about business credit in the book. Talking about cost per service. That's a huge thing a lot of people don't think about or really understand, is cost per service. Understanding what it takes to do the work, what it costs to do the work, the timing. I talk about that, try to break it down, you know, in a way that, you know, everybody will understand, so that it gives you a outlook on of running the business and paying yourself. Paying yourself the way you should be paid, because you don't want to go in business and you're just working, but you're not paying yourself, because that's not a business, that's a hobby. Right. So you want to, you know, make sure that you're paying yourself, you know, making sure everything is, you know, handled, whether if you have employees or not, but making sure that you're paying yourself and, you know, you're charging your worth, but you're understanding the breakdown. So if you're using products and stuff like that, how much is it costing you to use those specific products? How much that you're gonna make from that particular service or whatever that you're doing, and then how much is going to go back to the business so that your business can continue to run. And also, if you need to, you know, purchase more products, you know, you have to look at all of those things in order to make a profit and pay yourself. So I talk about all of that, you know, in the book. But like I said, I had to break it down, but so people would understand what it really takes to run a business, because it takes a lot, and a lot of people don't know until they get into it. And then, you know, some people just like, they feel overwhelmed because it's like, well, I don't know, you know, where to go or where to turn or where to do this. So, you know, again, that's my goal now, is to reach back for the ones that want the help and need the help. You know, whether there's one-on-one coaching or group coaching. So I'm just excited, you know, about it, because, you know, I've gotten great feedback from the book. So I'm super excited.
That's great. That is great. And that story about running away is boggling my mind. When did you start the Bonner Institute? Because I know obviously you said like you teach students. So when did you start that? And with the Institute, is it strictly just teaching them, the spa services, or is it also the business pole part with the work with that's separate, right? So the institute is just to get people certified as an esthetician.
So I started the Bonner Institute in August of 2020. I kind of rebranded because I had been teaching continuing education prior to, and I just rebranded to the Bonner Institute, which is trademarked as well. And it encompasses it all. So it encompasses me teaching continuing education to licensed professionals, whether it's massage or aesthetics, as well as business classes. So whether that is somebody's open a business and they're needing help to open their business, regardless if they're in my industry or not, because when you're setting up a business, it's all the same. All the same. So, whether there's, helping with EIN, the business structure, the entity, LLC, sole proprietor, partnership, I help with that. I help with, trying to find the right bank for you. If you're ready for an accountant, which I recommend everybody, finding their accountant, because again, when you run the business, you want to have your full mind in the business, but you do want to work on the business. But what I'm saying is you don't want to be so overwhelmed in that you're not doing things the way they need to be done. So, even if you have just a bookkeeper, versus having an accountant, starting out with the bookkeeper to help you stay on track. So whether that's sales tax you have to pay, which you just paid every month, or employee taxes that you have to be paid every month, you have somebody to help you, assist you with the things that, you have to do.
Okay. So with the platform, I talk about self-love a lot, but I want to do a little spin on it because obviously your profession focuses on self-care. So how important is it, or how important do you think it is just for important is it, or how important do you think it is just for men and women, just for the actual physical, act of self-care, just taking care of yourself, pampering yourself, just taking care of your skin, how important do you think it is? I think sometimes people may not realize how important, and obviously I'll talk about self-care and self-love, the internal portion, but the external, of course, is equally important. So just what's your stance on that?
So it's very, very, very important, not just because I'm in this industry. So I say that because when I tell clients, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to get my massage. They look at me like, oh, you get massages too? I'm just like, yeah, it's what I do. So I'm just like, I can't tell you to come back in 4 weeks or 2 weeks or every week, and I'm not doing it. So, it's very important because for one, we all deal with stress. And stress is one of the number one of the killers. And I try to talk about topics that I know people are very in tune to or have dealt with. So stress, I talk about stress, and then I talk about hypertension or high blood pressure, because in our culture, we deal with both a lot. And so I talk about that because I know people can relate to it. So with stress, whether that is you're dealing with family, you're dealing with kids, you're dealing with school, work, all of it combined together, we all deal with stress. And massage therapy, or even just getting a facial, helps relax you. You can, for one, be still, but you do have to take your mind off of what's going on, to let your body and your mind to just relax. So if I know somebody, and clients come in, they talk, and for me, I listen to the client. I listen to the client and I listen to the body. So I'm listening to the client and I'm listening to their body and see how their body is. And most people, they come in like this. And so, I may give them breathing exercises to do, to say, let's just stop for a minute. Of course, the music is going in the background to really just relax them. And it's like, hey, let's take a few minutes and you just breathe. Make sure the phone is off. I have a lot of people come in sometimes and their phone still going. I'm just like, you can't relax that way. But, just basically, get away from everything. Yes, I know you're going to have to go back to it, but for in this hour, in this 90 minutes, in this 30 minutes, whatever time that we have, this is your time. And this is, for you. Because I hear so many people that's like, well, I just don't have time. I just don't have time. But they're doing everything else for other people. this, doing that, but they have to take time for themselves. And then hypertension or high blood pressure. Massage therapy can help with that. So much so, I can say that it can bring you off of your medicine if you go on a regular basis. When I say regular basis, that may be once a week. I had a colleague, had a client that was on 3 different types of blood pressure medicine at one time. This particular client came in once a week for a whole year. After that year, that client came off of 2. It was only on 1.
Wow.
After that year. So, you have to be dedicated. Massage therapy is an alternative of medicine. Those are some of the awards that we have won over the year, because a lot of people just didn't understand that, it's alternative. Sorry about that. But it's an alternative of medicine. And a lot of people think about massage, they think about, oh, just it's foo-foo, or it's just, this is just that, but it has very therapeutic connections, whether that's stress, whether that's hypertension, whether that's range of motion problems, chronic pain, circulation issues or problems people deal with. So it helps with so many different things that a lot of people just don't correlate with it. But I can honestly say, when the pandemic happened, since the pandemic has happened, I think a lot of people have been more in tune with self-care and taking care of themselves more. So that's something that I think that we all have gotten from that, which is a positive thing. So we can't, a lot of people have lost a lot of people, but I think it woke a lot of people up when it came to, self-care. So.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's something, because I don't think I ever even thought about how important massage therapy will help, just for all the different things that you named. And, like I said, I always talk about the internal so much that sometimes, I think people get each one mixed up. Sometimes they mix up self-love with self-care and vice versa. But just loving yourself, taking care of yourself, of course the internal is important, but the external is extremely important. And I think sometimes we're so busy and stressed out that we neglect one or the other. And oftentimes both. We'll neglect the internal and the external because we're just so busy doing everything but taking care of ourselves. But before we do it, end everything, like I said, you have a very great story, I love how you're giving back to people. So now I want to talk about the internal though. Like you've talked about some of your highs and lows and just, exercising those core values, but it hasn't been like a smooth journey. You've had some ups and downs. So self-love, obviously, the extension of self-care, the internal is super important in just how we attack things, how we accomplish our goals, just owning a business like yourself, pouring it out to people. So how important has self-love been for you, just to have that confidence, just for you to also, when you had those moments where people were shutting some doors in your face, but you didn't let it stop you? How important was self-love and still is for you to just accomplish what you've accomplished, the success you've attained, how you poured into others? How important has the internal portion of self-love been to you?
It's been great, and I think having self-love and the internal portion of that only shows on the outside. Like you said, you was like, I just feel your energy. I feel your energy, and it's true that that's the type of person I am. Like I've had clients that come in that felt uncomfortable with, like I talked about before, a Brazilian wax. But as the session goes on, we began to talk, and it was just like, oh my God, he's so humble, and he's nice, he's very knowledgeable. So for me, having that self-confident knowing, even though you told me no, I know that I'm good enough and I'm worthy enough to do whatever it is that I put my mind to. Mm-hmm. So yeah, having that self-confidence, that self-love has gotten me very far, and not, again, listening to, naysayers or outsiders, their negative opinions or, their no's. but having that self-love and self determination, so that has gotten me, where I am today.
My final question I want to ask you is, what would you tell someone what's your advice for someone on how to flip that no? Because that's, sometimes we're going to not always be received. We're not going to always receive that support. So just from your journey and your experience, what advice would you give that person on how to handle that no?
Believe in yourself. Believing in yourself will take you all the way. Because for me, when I heard the no, when I heard the just get a regular job, there was, and that came, I can speak about it. I'll talk to him, I put it in my book, but that go get another job came from my dad. And today, we've talked several times, and he's very supportive. He's always been supportive, but he would give you those cons that we talked about before. He'll give you those cons of like, well, what about this and what about that, what about this? But if I would have listened to the no, I would have went and did something else. If I would have listened to go get that regular job, I wouldn't be where I am today. So me knowing and believing in myself kept me going. Knowing that the vision God gave me kept me going. So I couldn't listen to anybody else. I couldn't listen to the just harp on the cons that I heard to stop me. So believing in yourself is number one. Because if you don't believe in yourself, even though they're your parents or your friends, your best friend, your cousin, whoever, you have to believe in yourself. And I had to prove myself right. Not so much of proving him or whoever wrong. I want to prove myself right, that this was the calling that was given to me. And I followed that. And here I am today.
Wow. Thank you so much for this conversation. This has been great. Like I said, your energy, it just is so happy. I can see how someone coming in for your services would be calm, because me just talking to you, it gave me a sense of happiness. So like I said, you have a great energy. But before we end everything, tell everybody how they can find you, how they can utilize your services. Like I said, you're a hop, skip, and a jump away. You're right next door in Mississippi. So tell everybody how they can reach out to you.
So you can reach me on my website, which is thebonnerinstitute.com. Whether that is, a discovery call, a coaching call, and also on social media, you can follow me at @I am_Terrance Bonner on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Like I said, this has been a very great conversation, and I'm happy for you. We just need it, but just hearing your energy, and accept those no's. It's just important to feed into somebody else, to speak life into them, and just tell them how to not accept a no, because a lot of times people get that no and it stops them. They don't keep going. They let that one no, and it could just be one simple no or one simple naysayer, and they just give up that dream. And like you said, if you had accepted those no's, you wouldn't have went to Thailand. You wouldn't have had this great experience. You wouldn't have your business. So like I said, I do commend you, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.